Let's talk about how to file taxes for a small business this year for real.
One in a million, one in a million, one in a million. You know they're coming up to me, cause I'm just the kind of flower that's stinging in the beat, but the rhythm's getting higher. Go, 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 go. One in a million, one in a million, one in a million, one in a million, one in a million.
Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Sorty Kiwi Show. How are you today? I hope you are doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous, if you were to ask me. If you are doing as great as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or vodka. Now let's roll. In today's conversation, I want to speak to you step by step about how to file taxes for a small business this year. Okay, so here are the steps I want you to really pay attention to. First of all, you want to gather your business records. The whole thing is people talk about, I want to file taxes for my business, but I have no idea where my records are. It's really important to gather your business records, okay? To be in a situation where you are disciplined enough to sort your records out. This is very important. So before you start anything, make sure you have all your relevant business records on hand. Very important. So depending on your type of business entity, you will need different things. Okay, so you need to also make sure that are you an LLC? Are you an S Corp? Are you a C Corp? Are you a sole proprietorship? Are you a single member LLC? So those are important, but you want to start by gathering the following. So your last year's tax returns. We are speaking about your business tax returns, okay? Your employer identification number. So that's actually your EIN that the IRS has given you. Your social security number. This is very important because if we were talking about your business, we still have a correlation between your social security number and your EIN. And we also you need to also gather your financial statements. So we are speaking here about specifically about your balance sheet and your income statements. In some cases, depending on the type of business entity that you run, you might need to have also your statement of owner's equity and your statement of cash flows. Those are really important. So you want to start gathering those elements, okay? You want to start gathering your receipts and your expenses. And those are really important because, the thing is, if God forbid you are audited by the IRS, they are going to pay attention to your receipts and expenses. So, boss, I want you to do me a favor. Make sure that you gather those things. Make sure that you have your receipts and your expenses in a good place, okay? So, decision time. Big decision time here. Are you comfortable with your level of organization right now? Have you gathered everything that you need to have before starting the process? Have you actually paid attention to your receipts and expenses? Have you put them in the right binder? Okay, or have you put them in the right folder? Make sure that you have that. And again, make sure that you have last year's tax returns. In some cases, you want to have tax returns for the last 2 years or 3 years. The next thing I want you to think about is your bookkeeping. So we are still having a conversation about how to file taxes for a small business this year, for your small business. So first, business records. Second, I want you to get your bookkeeping up to date. This is really important. A lot of small business owners believe that bookkeeping is just like an afterthought. No, because bookkeeping constitutes the fulcrum, is actually pivotal. It's really, really important when it comes to your tax filing, okay? So accurate and up-to-date bookkeeping is possibly the most important ingredients for a stress-free tax season. So if your books are a mess right now, that's okay, that's fine, okay? But right now I want you to take the steps necessary to make sure that you remedy the situation. So first, make sure that you record and categorize every business transaction from your tax filing year. This is really important. So when we talk about, let's say you want to file your business taxes for this year, make sure that you actually have to categorize all those business transactions. Now, I'm not saying do it manually. You can actually use accounting software. We are speaking about Xero. We are speaking about Wave. We are talking about QuickBooks. We are speaking about FreshBooks. We are speaking about Zoho Books. You have a large constellation of applications you can use to actually do your business bookkeeping. Okay, you want to reconcile your books with your bank accounts. The thing is, boss, if everything I'm telling you doesn't make sense or you don't understand, it just means that you have to hire an accountant. That's all it means. Okay, you have to outsource the task. You want to make sure that somebody else takes care of that for you, okay? But you need to reconcile your books with your bank accounts to make sure that your bank accounts are showing the amounts that actually can be synced to your book records, okay? You want to produce financial statements. So when we talk about financial statements, as I said earlier, you have 4 categories of financial statements, okay? So you have your balance sheet, you have your income statements, you have your statement of cash flows, and you have your statement of owner's equity, okay? And you have to do this for the business. And you also want to gather your receipts and invoices. I spoke about that before, but this is really important when we talk about bookkeeping, because how are you going to justify entries? How are you going to justify your journal entries? Okay, your trial balance entries if you don't have no source documents. And the source documents in this case are your receipts and invoices, okay? And so one thing you need to make sure, this is very important, you want to file tax forms for your contractors and employees. One such important element is your W-9, okay? Or you can also fill out and submit a form 1099 NEC to the IRS for your contractors. Very important. So if you are trying to be in a better position to file taxes for your small business this year, I want you to think about your tax deductions. I want you to claim your small business tax deductions. Those are really important. First of all, you got to know about them, because there are a lot of small business tax deductions that could actually lower your tax bill. Okay, this is really important. So one thing I want to say is you want to pay attention to your startup cost. Okay, so if you have expenses that you incurred before you began running your business, you can deduct up to $5,000 of startup cost in the year your business opens. Okay, so any startup cost above that amount can be amortized over 15 years. So when we talk about amortized, it just means that you take the remaining amounts, okay, and you divide it by 15 years, and every year you just expense a little bit of it, okay? And it's kind of similar to depreciation when we talk about tangible assets, okay? And you can also deduct your raw materials. You can deduct the cost of the items you had to purchase to provide the goods and services you sell. Okay, this is really important. What about office supplies? Yes, of course you can deduct that too. Small items for the office, I'm talking about pens, post-its, and coffee. Those are covered. But larger items, such as desks and chairs, are not, they're not actually, you cannot deduct them because they're considered capital goods. So there's a different treatment for them. You can also deduct your office or commercial rent. You can deduct your office expenses, your insurance. Okay, this is really important. And also business travel. Those are really important. So many types of business travel expenses are deductible, including airfare, bus passes, hotel expenses, cost of local transportation between the airport and the accommodation. For example, taxis, Uber, and 50% of the cost of meals while you, the boss, or an employee, are on a business trip. So 50%. Not 100%, okay? And you can also deduct your salaries and benefits. So salaries and benefits you pay to employees, such as performance bonuses and insurance premiums, can be deducted as well. So, boss, what I'm saying here is that you have a long list, a long catalog of deductions you can apply to your taxes, so that overall you can reduce your tax bill. Now, obviously, the list I just gave you is not exhaustive. So, if you have any question about your specific industry, your specific business, please drop them below. Ask questions. Our team will answer you as soon as possible. Okay, and we'll make sure that we can research the type of business you're in to see if the kind of expense you are asking about can be deducted. The next thing I want you to pay attention to when we talk about filing taxes for your small business is your expenses. This is very important, Chief. This is important. I want you to keep the details straight on your business expenses, because again, God forbid the IRS is just auditing your business. You don't want to be in a situation where you cannot produce substantive elements to back up your claims, right? So in order to claim an expense with the IRS, it's very important. You need to have the following info on hand for every expense. Let me just repeat that. If you want to claim an expense with the IRS, you must have the following info on hand at all time for every expense, every single expense. You want to have the amount, the date the purchase was made, where you purchased the expense, what form of payment you used, very important, the reason for the expense. Okay, there has to be a strong correlation, a strong connection to your business so that the IRS knows this is not a personal expense. Okay, and for meals and entertainment expenses, it's also important that you make a note of who was involved, because this includes both your employees and any clients present. Okay, this is really important. Now you can record this information in a spreadsheet and a note on the side of the receipt itself before you photograph it, whatever works best for you. Okay, because in the case of an audit, the IRS can ask for all this information to make sure the expense falls within their guidelines. And believe me, when the IRS is auditing you, they can be really, really particular. They want to go granular here. So the level of granularity when they are auditing you is just crazy. So you need to have every bit of documents, every bit of evidence to show the IRS auditor that you are indeed running a legit business and that your expenses are legit. Okay. So here are some pro tips for you. First of all, you want to have accounting software. Okay, you don't want to do things manually at all. And number two, when you have expenses, I want you to take photographs of any expense and you just upload it to your accounting software database, whatever. So a lot of accounting software tools nowadays, they are hosted on the cloud. So they actually give you some kind of database, some kind of space on their server, so you can actually you can record, you can save stuff. So when you have, let's say, meals and entertainment, you go into the restaurant, you bought something, always take a picture, and you want to save systematically. You want to save this automatically to your accounting software database. Very important. One thing I want you to pay attention to, boss, is your cash reserve. Cash reserves are really important. What I'm trying to say here is you need to have an idea of how much you will be paying this year in small business taxes. Now, the level of the amount that you pay really depends on the type of business structure you have. It also depends on your performance for that year, for your business performance for that year. Okay, so if your business is taxed as a C corporation, your tax rate is a flat 21%. If your business is not taxed as a C corporation, that means your business itself won't pay taxes, but you personally will, which means that you will need to consult the tax tables to figure out which tax bracket you fall under. This is really important. But the point I'm trying to hammer here is that you need to set aside money to pay your taxes. The thing is, you never know. I mean, when you run a business, it's quite essential to remember that you'll be paying taxes based on your self-reported net profits, right? So keep in mind that in many types of small business structures, namely sole proprietorships, partnerships, and S corporations, you will generally need to make estimated quarterly tax payments if you expect that you will owe more than $1,000 in taxes. Okay, and it's important. Now, one thing I want to say here is that this means that it's important that you always have enough money in the bank to make these payments in April, June, September, and January. Okay, so in our view, the best strategy is to save about 25 to 30% of your net business income so that you have enough money to cover whatever taxes, whatever federal income taxes and state income taxes you have to pay. Okay, so based on our analysis, those are small businesses that actually win this game are usually keeping their money in a separate bank account. So you want to keep your money, the cash reserves for your taxes, you want to keep that money in a separate bank account from the one you use in your day-to-day business dealings. So this is really great because it will prevent you. It will actually you will avoid dipping into that cash anytime. Okay. So one thing you want to do here is if you are a business with a consistent stream of income, you can simply set up automatic bank transfers to regularly pull funds from your primary bank account into a secondary savings account. Okay. And if you are a business with variable income, if you close large deals less frequently, you want to get in the habit of making these transfers manually whenever you receive payments from a client. Okay. So money, boss. What I want you to do here is I want you to be in a situation where you are saving enough cash to cover your tax liabilities at the right time. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another session of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. We are still having a conversation about how to file taxes for your small business this year. And now I want to speak specifically about the filing. How do you file those small business taxes? Okay, well, the thing here is that each type of small business files taxes a bit differently. Okay, so the forms you will need to fill out for your business depends on the way your business is structured. I'm talking about legal structure here. Okay, so the main business structures are sole proprietorship, partnership. So this includes both limited and unlimited, both limited and limited liability. So we're talking about LP and LP. So you also have limited liability company, so commonly known as an LLC. So remember, here we can have a single member LLC or a multi-member LLC. If your business is structured as a C Corp or as an S Corp, so C Corporation or S Corporation, or a non-profit corporation. Okay, so let's just quickly talk about those in a very quick way so you really understand. So sole proprietorship is exactly what it sounds like. So it's a fancy way of saying that an unincorporated business that has only one owner. So there's no legal distinction between the owner and the business entity. So filing taxes as a sole proprietor is really straightforward. Filing taxes as a partnership, you need to use a form called 1065. And basically, you also need to have Schedules K1, okay, that show the individual share of the profit and losses for the year when you file your personal tax returns, okay? And you can file taxes as a limited liability company, as a limited liability corporation, so LLC. So this really depends. So if you are, let's say, a single member LLC, you fill out a Schedule C when you file your annual personal tax return. If you are a multi-member LLC, then you file your Form 1065, and you also issue to the owners, to the partners for that matter, Schedules K1. If you file taxes as C Corporation, you basically file Form 1120. Okay, and we have covered this on other shows. If you file taxes as an S Corporation, you have to file Form 1120S. Again, we have covered this on other shows. And if you want to file taxes as a nonprofit, basically there is an entire regimen here, and basically you need to make sure what kind of form do you need, and do you fall under Section 501, and are you a 501c3 company, so nonprofit. So long story short, if you are a nonprofit and you want to learn more about that part of things, that aspect of things, please drop us a question below and we'll answer you. The last thing I want to cover here is I want to give you some extra info that will really help you when it comes to filing your taxes for your small businesses. Okay, now you got to think about self-employed taxes, because most self-employed people will operate either as a sole proprietorship, including independent contractors, limited liability company, partnership, or S corporation. All these structures are considered pass-through entities, meaning your earnings are reported as part of your personal income. So if you really think about it, since you are your own boss, you will need to pay self-employment taxes, which is comprised of Social Security and Medicare taxes. So the total self-employment tax rate is 15.3% of your income. So please remember that, 15.3% of your income. So you got to think about sales taxes also. Now, sales tax is a state tax that you are required to collect from customers and remit to the government. Okay, so even if you are an e-commerce store without a physical presence in any state, you're still on the hook for sales tax. So depending on the state, you might have to file a sales tax return monthly, quarterly, or annually. I want you to pay attention also to your payroll taxes. Very important. So as an employer, you are responsible for three things. We are responsible for we have a few payroll related taxes. Actually, it's 4. So you are responsible for FUTA, so your federal unemployment tax, so effectively a 0.6% tax. For FICA, 7.5% tax. For Social Security and Medicare, you are responsible for collecting and remitting employee income tax. You are responsible for state and local tax. Okay, they are different depending on what state you're in. You also want to think about a very important piece of legislation called the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Okay, and this is something that President Trump actually actually, signed into law on January 1st, 2018. The law is still active today. So it's really important to understand that that law, that piece of legislation, makes the corporate tax rate at 21%, a flat 21%, okay? And all other entities were offered a 20% tax deduction called the QBI deduction. If you qualify for it, we have covered the QBI deduction on other shows. But if you have questions about that, please drop them below. And entertaining clients is no longer tax deductible. Okay, so office snacks and meals are now 50% deductible. They used to be 100%. And the amount of car depreciation you can write off was almost doubled. Okay, so this is really important. Now, if you want to pay small business taxes, remember that you are required as a small business to pay estimated taxes quarterly instead of annually. Okay, so submitting your payment to the IRS is a breeze. You just need to fill out form 1040 ES and mail it along with the check to the IRS office closest to you. This is if you are self-employed. Okay, you can also pay estimated taxes online or by phone via the IRS payments gateway. Now, for corporations and businesses, payments must be filed through the electronic federal tax payment system. And again, we have covered this on other shows also. Thank you so much for your attention. I was just quickly talking to you about how to file taxes for your small business this year. So we spoke about business records, bookkeeping, tax deductions, expenses, cash reserves, filing, and I gave you some extra info that will help you actually understand and contextualize the whole conversation about how to file taxes for your small business. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. I will see you next time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.